So I'm out here in the hot sun, so we'll see how long the camera lasts before I got to shut it off and turn it back on because of the heat, or it will overheat from the hot temperatures in the sun. So I'm at the well today. I've been talking about SHTF and the differences between preppers slash stockpilers and off-gridders slash self-sustaining. And one of the things I really don't get a good sense about from preppers is, what are you going to do about water? Water is probably the thing that's going to be the hardest thing to come by in an SHTF situation. Food, I mean, if things got really bad, you could eat worms and, you know, just... And the thing is about food is you can go longer in between meals. But with water, you can only go a few days before death will pursue. So water is just critically important, and I don't think people realize how much water you have to have. I know a lot of people drink beverages, but whatever your beverage is, and they see that as a fluid, but in an SHTF, you're not gonna have those beverages, and you can't stockpile enough water. How long before your water supply runs out, and what are you gonna do? Of course, you can do rain collection, but it's my understanding that half the country is under a drought condition. I know we were nearly flooded all spring long, but as soon as the summertime hit, it just stopped raining. I mean, we've gotten a couple thunderstorms, but not a lot of rain. The grass is dying. I've just stopped mowing because gas prices are so high. I mean, I got some weeds, but overall, it's not too bad. Why cut it? It's not gonna bog down the mower when I actually do cut it. I don't know if rain collection is like the best option available. So you gotta figure out what you're gonna do about water. Now, of course, depending on what part of the country you're in, if you're in Arizona, water is really hard to come by, is my understanding. So when we bought this property, it had this well, and it's just an old well. It's not in good shape. It's an antique. It was dug probably in the 60s, maybe the 70s, and they didn't dig it very deep. And the biggest problem is the well casing. They only went down to bedrock. When it hit bedrock, they stopped. Nowadays, they take the well casing and go all the way down to the water line. So what happens is groundwater can seep through the bedrock and into the well water, and it dirties the well water in really heavy rains, or if it rains for long periods of time. I don't think the water is actually dirty. I think it's just that soot and stuff that comes from the bedrock. So it's an old well, and I know a lot of people think there's all kinds of things I should do to fix it. I think what would I have to do is I'd have to call a well guy out here, and he would have to take out the well casing and put a new well casing in. And I'm not going to do that because then they got to follow codes. And this is what makes this thing so valuable, is I don't have to follow codes with this. When I got here, it was just a hole in the ground. They had a piece of concrete block just like this covering the hole. So I just ran a well pump down there, and I used it, but boy, the water was always dirty, and it was just such a frustration. Well, about a year later, I was able to concrete the floor better. We put the well house on, and we ran a well liner in there because I was pretty sure the well casing had broke. I thought there was a crack in it, so I was able to get a boot. I forget what the boot's called. Somebody's going to remind me because I've got videos on it. You can go to my playlist. You'll see all the videos I did on this well. Now, if the well casing ever gives up, it won't collapse the well. The well lining will catch it, everything will be fine. But in the end, everything I've done here has made the well much cleaner. I've thought about putting a hand pump in this, and the more research I do, the more I realize the well housing is going to have to be redone, and I'm not really excited about that. I would have to raise it up, that way I can get a pump down in there. It's going to be a simple pump. I don't know, I might do it. I don't know. I'm still looking for a pump that I had back in the early 2000s. It's pretty cheap. That kind of pump, I might be able to run an elbow out to here, outside of the well house, and it could just stand on a stand I'd make. If I can find that, then I might go for it. But with it being a deep well, it goes down, well, the water line is probably 70 feet. The well goes down, I think, 130 feet. The hand pump would only have to go down to the water level, so I might be able to get something other than a simple, what do they call that, a simple pump or something like that. But I'm getting a lot of thought, and I've got two 110 well pumps. I got one in storage. In case this one ever goes out, I got a backup one. And it's not hard to do. I mean, I can just take this elbow off and I can pull up the well pump, put a new one on and drop it back down. And I've done it twice. I put a new well pump in twice. Not because it burned up, but when I put in this well lining, I had to put in a smaller pump, so I had to replace the one. Now, the one I have, like I said, is a 110, so it can be ran off these little bitty generators here. Most well pumps are 220, and so you'd have to have a really big generator to run it. But these run this just fine. I found them on Amazon. Occasionally, people will ask me, where'd you find that at? I'm not going to put it in the description. I got in trouble with YouTube years ago, and they don't let me advertise Amazon accounts. So if you want to have the well pump, ask me for that in the comment section, and I'll give you a link to it. So you can run them off these generators, and that's what I do. Now, imagine if I had code. It would be a nightmare, because the well company, they come in, dig a well, and then they would put a pressurized tank on it. It would have to go into the house. The house would have to have electricity, where I couldn't just run it off the generator like this. And I've actually had people tell me, they've called well companies, they will not do it the way I've done it here, where it can be all external and hooked up to hoses. And to me, this is gold, to have something like this. And then when it's really sunny, I can actually run the well pump off solar panels. Now, during an SHTF, I've said this before, we wouldn't run the refrigerator, so I would have plenty of batteries to be able to run it off solar panel anytime I needed during the daytime hours. I've decided that I'm no longer going to run the gasoline generator as long as gas prices are up. So I have two generators. I got a gasoline propane generator here. You can see the propane tank, it's hooked up. And I have a gasoline generator. The propane is 2,500 watts. This one's 2,000 watts. Now, the wattage drops a little bit on this one when you run it off propane. I don't have the instructions with me, but it drops a little bit. I think instead of 2,500, it's 2,200 and whatever. Whereas this one's much smaller. Gas prices are more expensive to run on a generator. I've done all the math for 30 hours of runtime, and it's cheaper to run it off propane. Now, I get propane at a military discount for some reason. They give me a military discount. So a tank of this is $11, which runs the generator 30 hours. Whereas the same amount of gas to run this for 30 hours would cost, well, almost, what, $13 and some odd cents. So it's cheaper to run it this way. Well, the thing about the old generators, it's so old and decrepit that if I want to run the well pump, I've got to run, this has an eco button where it runs down real low on RPMs, and it only takes the power it really needs. But when I'm running the well pump, I have to shut off the eco mode and let it run full blast, because it just won't keep up anymore. It used to, but not anymore. It's just too old. So I'm wasting gas because I can't run down the eco. Well, on this one, I can run it on eco. So I start the generator up, turn the well pump on, put it on eco, and the RPMs run down. So I'm saving propane even more so than on the gas. To me, gas prices are already an SHTF. Now, assuming worst case scenario during an SHTF and both well pumps go out or solar panels don't work or whatever, I still have a second option. So my backup option is this natural spring that's not too terribly far from me. Now, the problem with me showing you this is every time I do, somebody recognizes this. It's amazing because, I mean, it's out here in the middle of nowhere. And so then they'll immediately email me and say, hey, I know where you live. I'm going to come over. We'll buy lunch. Please don't. I like my privacy. I know that I'm on YouTube, but that does not mean that just because you know where I live, you get to come and visit me. I'm just not that friendly, I guess. So now this natural spring, I actually think feeds my well. Now we're way downhill from here, probably several hundred feet. So I would imagine that the well is being, well, the well actually feeds this. They built this cistern. I don't know what you call this, a cistern maybe. Now it's busted up a little bit, but the idea is the water comes out of the hillside, fills up this tub or cistern or whatever you want to call it. Well, the dam that they use to fill the cistern has busted loose. So people put rocks here and concrete blocks to kind of hold it back a little bit. And it works not too bad. So what the idea is that you would fill your buckets up in here. Now you can see that something has happened. Somebody moved this damn block that they put here. So the water used to be quite a bit higher. It would have to be repaired. But in an SHTF, you could come down here, and this is clean drinking water. Now the problem with this is everybody wants to use it. It's being used. I've seen people actually pull buckets of water out of here. If I didn't want to run the generator, we have considered coming down here to get this water for the chickens, but I don't know if it would be any cheaper. I would have to bring the lawnmower down, and so now I'm running the lawnmower, which actually uses more gasoline than the generator. So you know, 6 one way, half dozen the other. But people do come down here. Now, if there was an SHTF situation, I'm sure, and people didn't have their wells to run, because everybody around here has a well, I'm sure everybody would be coming here. Going to public places in an SHTF situation probably isn't the best idea. The worst place to be is by a water source. Everybody's going to want to go to it. There's mosquitoes here. Everybody's going to want to go to the water source, and so it's pretty dangerous. People are going to want what you have, if you have anything. Now there is a stream about 6 miles from here, but I don't think I'd ever go to that. Now, filtration is going to be an important part of this, purifying your water one way or another. Of course, you could boil it. So if you've got a big pot that you can put it on a wood burning pit, that would be your best solution. Of course, now it's still going to taste bad. I don't think anybody realizes how bad, not this is going to be pretty clean tasting, but stream water is going to taste pretty bad. I remember down in Florida, we were nomads, and they had this water faucet. And we always use the Berkey, and I'll put a link to the generators and the Berkey on the screen here. You'll see a product list. Just touch the screen, the product list pop up. You hit that, and you'll have the generators and the Berkey will be on the list. So we filtered the water. Well, when the camper burned down, we didn't have the Berkey. So we were trying to put the fire out because we came after the camper pretty much died down. So we were just putting out the small flames, and it got really hot and we got really thirsty. So I thought, well, I'll just take a drink of this. Oh, it was terrible tasting. And so you gotta be prepared for terrible tasting water. So if you just boil water, of course, that's gonna kill the bacteria and you're gonna be fine, but man, it's gonna taste terrible and it's hard to drink. It gags you. It's something you're gonna have to be prepared for. These are the things preppers don't talk about. Now, of course, we have the Berkey. The Berkey filters last about 6 years, so I have a backup set of Berkey filters that I always keep on hand. That's not a lifetime. It's short term. It's just like stockpiling. Eventually you're going to run out. I may buy more Berkey filters at some point, but at some point you're going to run out and you're going to have to endure bad taste. Now, of course, we have well water, so I don't think I'll ever have that problem. And as my backup, I have this. So again, click that product list, or you can click that super thanks button down there. I'd really appreciate it. So I hope I can inspire you to have a plan so you can have plenty of water when you're living your dream. Thanks for watching.